Okay, everybody, this is just going to be a quick run through of all of the muscles that you need to know for the muscular anatomy tests, and just use this as a quick reference or refresher. I'm not going to go over the actions or origins or insertions. Those are on the more detailed muscular anatomy videos that I have done. And we'll start up here on the head, and let's just run through our lab guide, study guide that we have for us here. The first two that you guys needed to know, boy, I'm never going to get these arrows right with the head. There's your frontalis muscle, which can be divided up into the left and the right sides. And if we click around here to the back, the occipitalis is back in here on either side. And then many sources just refer to the frontalis and the occipitalis as one muscle because they're connected to each other through this aponeurosis, that sheet of dense regular connective tissue you have running across the top of the head. So that's pretty straightforward. Temporalis muscle is right there. There's your masseter muscle. Zygomaticus, there's a major and a, oops, clicked the wrong thing. I clicked a deeper muscle there. You got a major and a minor zygomaticus muscle. So those two right there, you can find those because think about they're your smiling muscles, so they're going to be pulling on the sides of the lips at a diagonal. All right, next one on the list, the buccinator. That is this deeper muscle right there. So the more superficial one is actually called the risorius, and you don't need to know that one. You just need to know the deeper one. There it is on that side. There it is on the left side. Don't forget to use your left and your rights when you're naming muscles if you have a left and a right. Orbicularis oculi on the left, on the right, circular muscle around the eyes. Orbicularis oris, circular muscle around the lips. Nasalis, right there and right there, left and right. Sternocleidomastoideus muscles, the big ones right here that run from the back of the head around the mastoid process of the temporal bone and the occipitalis all the way down to the sternum. And now it's obscured on this diagram by the platysma, this more superficial muscle you see here, but it's also connecting to the clavicle as well. So sternocleidomastoideus on the left, sternocleidomastoideus on the right. And platysma right there and right there, broad sheet-like muscle which connects onto the underside of the mandible. And let me strip that off. So if you have that stripped off, now you can see the whole sternocleidomastoideus. It's connecting to the clavicle right there and also into the sternum. All right, trunk muscles. Let's zoom out. Rotate this guy around this way. Trapezius is one big diamond-shaped muscle, but it has a left side and a right side. You can contract those portions independently on that big muscle. Latissimus dorsi. Let's scan down. I'm never going to get these arrows right. I don't know why they just seem totally backwards to me. Latissimus dorsi on the right, latissimus dorsi on the left. And let's rotate around. Pectoralis major left and right. I think most people know where those are. Pectoralis minor. Okay, so we've got to hide, I've got to strip off the pectoralis major, this deeper muscle that's underneath there that's involved in breathing and also rolling the shoulder forward like that. That's called the pectoralis minor muscle. The intercostals, these rib muscles lying in between the ribs that you see. You have external and internals. Don't worry about those. You can just call those intercostals. They're in between the ribs. Serratus anterior, these muscles that look like braids that you see over there on the lateral side of the trunk. All right, there and over there. Those are the serratus muscles. Rectus abdominis, that's your six-pack. And I'm actually going to have to, let me highlight that and hide it, highlight that one and hide it. Now these are that's your external oblique I'm sorry, that's your internal because I just took the external obliques off. I'll come back to those. Here's the rectus abdominis on the right. Here it is on the left. That's your 6-pack or your 8-pack. And then, let me show all. All right, so I brought back external oblique on the right and on the left. And you see how that muscle blends into, you've got connective tissues right there that extend across. The rectus abdominis is just underneath there, underneath that thin sheet of connective tissue. So still so close to the surface that if somebody has a 6-pack or an 8-pack, it'll actually protrude through the skin. So that's a very thin sheet of tissue right in there. And remember, that's called your linea alba, that little strip of that ligament-like strip you've got running right down the center of the abdominopelvic region. Okay, so we did our external obliques. Now if I hide those, underneath there you've got the internal oblique. And then if I hide that one, you have a deeper transversus abdominis muscle. So you got 3 layers: external, internal, transversus, abdominis. And then the rectus abdominis is there in the center of the abdomen. All right, pelvic floor muscles. I'm going to rotate my guy around this way. And so right in there, well, let me hide that one. Hide. Yeah, down here in the bottom of the pelvis, there, and also over here and over here. Those are levator ani muscles. They elevate the anus, and they also help form the bottom wall of the pelvic cavity so that all of your organs in your pelvic cavity don't fall out through your skin. That would not be a good thing. Diaphragm, I think you guys know where the diaphragm is located. I am never going to get this navigation right with these arrows. It just seems totally backwards to me. All right, let's strip these off. Hide, go away, hide. All right, you guys know where the diaphragm is. There's that parachute-like muscle that forms the border between the abdominopelvic cavity and your thoracic cavity up here. So it kind of looks like a parachute. We're familiar with that one from Unit 1. All right, how about our arm muscles? Turn everybody back on, show all. All right. Deltoids, those are the muscles that cap your shoulders. And it's divided into 3 heads. That's why those are highlighting independently. But let me do multiple. Whoops. Go away. Let me do multiple select. All right. That plus that plus that. That whole thing is the deltoid. It just has 3 heads to it. It can be divided up into 3 parts, which you can contract separately. There's your left deltoid. There is the right deltoid. Biceps brachii, that is a 2-headed muscle. Right there and right there. Those 2 together, biceps brachii on the right, biceps brachii on the left. And deep to the biceps brachii, right there. If you're looking on the lateral side, find your biceps brachii and then go immediately deep to it. That's the brachialis muscle. Actually, let me highlight the biceps brachii. Strip that off. So right in there, you've got kind of an oval-shaped flat muscle. That's the brachialis. All right, let me bring everybody back. All right, then you've got a muscle right here. It's on the lateral side of the arm, right there, and then over here on the left. So it's starting up here above the elbow, kind of wrapping around and running along the radius. That is called the brachioradialis muscle. Pronator teres muscle. So if you can find your brachioradialis muscle, and then that one right there that's making that crisscross, you deselect all and re-highlight it. That's your pronator teres muscle. That's responsible for pronation of the forearm. So it forms a crisscross with the brachioradialis. That's a good way to find that one. And there's your pronator teres over on the left-hand side. All right, flexor carpi. So on the anterior side of the forearm, if I'm pointing to the anterior side of the forearm and I say, what are the muscles that are working the wrist? Those are flexor carpi. If I say, what muscles on this part of the forearm are working the fingers? Those are flexor digitorum muscles. Over here on the posterior side, you have muscles. I'm not going to highlight them because there are a whole bunch of them. But if I say, all right, muscles on this side of the forearm that work the wrist, extensor carpi. Muscles on this side of the forearm that work the fingers, extensor digitorum muscles. All right, now while we're back here on the back side, let's take a look at our gluteal muscles. Gluteus maximus on the right and on the left. I think everybody knows where those are. Rotate around. That muscle right there that's on the middle portion of the hip is called the gluteus medius. And if I hide that one, you've got a deeper muscle underneath there. That's called the gluteus minimus. So that is a deeper. So if you see the exposed pelvic bone right there, and you're seeing a smaller muscle, that's going to let you know you're looking at the gluteus minimus, the deeper muscle, rather than the gluteus medius. All right, and while I'm here at the hip, I'm going to go ahead and highlight this one. That is the TFL, or the tensor fasciae latae. And because it's part of that group as well that are involved in abduction of the leg, abducting the leg away from the midline of the body. That's that one. Okay, your quadriceps. Let's take a look at those. 4 muscles. So you've got the rectus femoris, the vastus lateralis, and the vastus medialis. That's medial. Okay? So that's your vastus medialis, vastus lateralis on the lateral side, rectus femoris. And if I highlight that one and hide it, deep to the rectus femoris you have your vastus intermedius. That's your 4th of the 4 quadriceps muscles. All right, rotate around and take a look at our hamstrings. We got 3 of those to take a look at. On the lateral side, that's called your biceps femoris. And it's actually a 2-headed muscle. There's the other head over there. You can barely see it. You're mainly looking at the long head of the biceps femoris. All right, then you've got your semitendinosus on the medial side, and deep to it, semimembranosus. So it's this muscle that kind of flares out on either side of the semitendinosus. All right, so there's the semimembranosus highlighted by itself. And again, the way to remember that one, I remember M for medial. This one is extending a little bit more medial. This is the medial side of the lower leg. And it's also meteor. It's a meteor muscle. That's another way to remember it. Okay, other thigh muscles. So on the lab, we did the tensor fasciae latae. The sartorius muscle is this one. That's your sitting down Indian style muscle. It wraps around the entire thigh and then runs down the inside of it. So that one's not too hard to locate. Deselect that one. The gracilis muscle on the right and over here on the left runs down, mostly just right down the inside of the thigh from one end to the other. It does kind of wrap around the back a little bit as well, but that's the gracilis. And that is a hip abductor, and then you have adductor with a D, and then up in here you have a couple of additional adductor muscles for the lower leg. The thigh, not the lower leg. I'm totally brain dead. Sorry, guys. It's been extremely long. I've been teaching microbiology all day and now doing these videos. And then over here on this side, you've got hip adductors as well, or leg adductors. They're going to adduct the thigh. Yeah, and on your lab guide, I noticed it's mentioning those as your thigh master muscles when you bring your legs toward the midline of the body. Okay, so that's all of those. Lower leg muscles. Rotate around here to the back. Gastrocnemius, and then deep to that one, you've got the soleus. Okay, so let me highlight just the soleus there. It's going to be deep to the gastrocnemius. And if we rotate around to the front, this muscle that's right next to the tibia, it's just lateral to the tibia, that's the tibialis anterior on that side and that side. Deselect all. Rotate around right down the middle of the lateral side of the lower leg. There's your fibularis longus or peroneus longus. Okay, and then the muscle that's in between, you'll see that exposed in between the tibialis anterior and the fibularis longus. That is an extensor digitorum muscle, so that's involved in extending the toes. And then on this side, on the posterior side of the lower leg, let me deselect those. It's easier to see from this direction. It's a deep muscle, deep to the soleus, sitting there on the back side of the tibia. You have a flexor digitorum muscle there that's involved in flexing or curling the toes. So with those, if I point to the back side of the leg and say, what are the muscles called that work the toes on this side? Those are going to be flexor digitorum muscles. If I'm pointing to this side, right in here, you're on the anterior side. What muscles work the toes on this side? You can just call those extensor digitorum muscles on that side of the lower leg. All right, so that was just a quick run through of all the muscles you need to know for the Unit 4 anatomy test. And don't forget also on the Unit 4 anatomy test, you will have some multiple choice and or multiple answer questions about muscle actions and the origins and insertions that are listed in your study guide. You don't have to know them all. There are just a few that are listed in the study guide there that you need to review. Those will be asked through multiple choice and or multiple answer questions. Muscle identification, you'll be typing in the names of the muscles. They'll be highlighted for you like I've got here, and you just type in the names, or I'll have an arrow pointing to them. Be sure to use the practice activities on Blackboard to help you learn these, because that's going to give you lots and lots of help before you actually take the real exam. All right, let me know if you have any questions. I'd be happy to help. And good luck with the Unit 4 Muscular Anatomy Exam. Should be an opportunity to do well and pick up a good grade on a 100-point test, because you certainly don't have nearly as many things to remember with the muscular anatomy as you had with the bones.